Hi everyone and happy new year! So basically I saw pretty much my favorite booktuber ever, honestly, Sophie. She's so funny, doing a little physical TBR, and I thought I have so many physical books that I need to read, and I keep reading those books off on favor of snatching up the newest releases on Libby as audiobooks and ebooks. And I really got to get back to my paper books so that I can either give them to someone else that wants to read them or put them in one of those little free libraries or something. Basically, I've got too many and they're taking over my bookshelf, so I thought making this little physical TBR video might be a good way to hold myself accountable for this coming year of reading. Hopefully I won't babble on too much about these books because there are a lot that I want to go over. Speaking of babble, no, just kidding, I don't have that one yet, but everyone tells me I should read it, so maybe that'll make an appearance on my 2023 reading challenge. But first, I have to get through The Priory of the Orange Tree because this has been on my shelf and on my Goodreads TBR for a very long time. I keep starting it, getting to page like 80 or something, and then just giving up. I don't know why it intimidates me so much because I've read 800-page books before. In fact, I just recently finished The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. Something about the width of the book, I think. Maybe this will finally be the year. The second thick book on my list is intimidating, not only because of its length, but also because of the content. So a while ago, I bought The Second Sex by Simone de Beauvoir, who, if you don't know her, she's this or was, I don't know if she's still alive actually, I should look that up, but she was this acclaimed feminist. She's a brilliant writer. This book and The Invisible Women, which talks about kind of medical gender biases and how women deal with living in a world that was very much built for men, are two books that I've been wanting to read for a long time, but gosh, I just don't know if I'll ever be in the mood necessarily to read them, because I don't think you pick up a book on feminism expecting a great, fun, happy time. But regardless, I really want to challenge myself to read this book and read it mindfully. I don't often annotate my books, but I feel like this would be a great opportunity to start. Okay, I've got a couple books on my physical TBR that I feel like not a lot of people are really going to care about, but something I very much enjoy is learning about compilers, which if you're not a CS person, I don't know if you're gonna know or care what a compiler is, but essentially you can think of a compiler as a way in which we transform high-level programming languages. So if you've ever heard of like Java or Python or any of those languages, it's kind of how we take those languages that are really easily readable by humans and how we transform those into a language that can be interpreted by a machine. There are two books related to compilers on my list. Again, don't know if anyone's really gonna care about it, but these two books are Compiler Construction by Nicholas Wirth, and the other one is more textbooky. It's Writing Compilers Can't Speak and Interpreters, An Applied Approach by Ronald Mack. Another techie / computer sciencey book I'm looking forward to reading this year is a book that I stole from my friend, and they have not realized that I stole it from them yet. They lent it to me out of the goodness of their heart one day, and I feel so bad that I still have it, especially since it's this beautiful hardcover. So I need to read this so that I can give it back to them. So this book is Possible Minds, 25 Ways of Looking at AI, compiled by John Brockman and featuring all of these really amazing pioneers in the world of AI and computer science. This book is on my physical TBR, not because I need to read it, but because I've already read it and I just know I'm going to be reading it again this year. It's one of those emotional support books for me. This is Who Will Run the Frog Hospital by Lorrie Moore. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Lorrie Moore. She's such a prolific American writer, and this book just captures girlhood, I guess, so well and so beautifully. I've described it to some people as kind of like Catcher in the Rye if that book featured a female and slightly more likable protagonist, to which some people replied, hey, isn't the whole appeal of Catcher in the Rye that it has a really annoying, non-likable protagonist, and that's how the author makes all of these critiques of, you know, like, I don't care. This is such a great book. I love it so much. Great depiction of female friendship. Reminded me a lot of My Brilliant Friend, but less long, which we love short books. Next on my physical TBR are two books that I've started and I really want to finish because both of them were gifts for one thing, and they both seem so promising. I don't know why I can't get through them. The first is This Thing Between Us by Gus Moreno, and the other one is The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. A friend of mine who read it said that the first 80% of the book was like incredible, and then the ending was ridiculous and totally ruined it for him. And yeah, I'm very curious. Next, I have a little quartet of books that I feel like fall into the genre of sad woman literature. You'll see what I mean. I got Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead by Emily Austen. I got A Certain Hunger by Chelsea G. Summers. I got They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. And I got My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Ottessa Moshfegh. These books all feature a woman in an interesting place, and quite a few of them feature female rage, which is all the rage. That was like not even a pun. That was like not even funny. Okay, anyways. Of those four, I think I'm the most interested to read this one. Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead is about a young woman, I believe she's a lesbian, and she really needs a job, and she ends up getting a job as like a receptionist for a Catholic church, which I think is so funny. People are still sending the old receptionist emails, and so she kind of impersonates her and learns about her life, and it's supposed to be very funny, but also very sad. And hey, I just finished Jeanette McCurdy's memoir. That was the first book I read this year, and I'm so happy because it started the year off on such a good note. And I realized that I love that combination of funny, sarcastic, witty humor and also just the most devastating, heartbreaking stories you'll ever hear in your life. So I feel like this book might be right up my alley. The second book, A Certain Hunger by Chelsea G. Summers, is about cannibalism. I'm not really sure what the plot is aside from that, but it's about a female food critic slash food writer who's just a sociopath and a cannibal. Don't judge me for picking up this book. This was recommended to me by a lot of people. They said it was creepy, but also very poignant, a lot of interesting social commentary, and I do enjoy books with dark subject matter as long as it has a point. So I'm very interested in what kind of commentary a story about a cannibalistic food critic will entail. A satire of early foodieism, a critique of how gender is defined, and a showcase of virtuoso storytelling. What a combination. Okay, third in the quartet, Lane Fargo's They Never Learn. This I've heard is a kind of revenge thriller-y kind of thing where a female university professor, I believe, kills men who are accused of sexual assault, I think. I don't know why I keep like giving a synopsis and then saying I think, as if I can't just read the back of the book and tell you exactly what's going on. Finally, everyone knows My Year of Rest and Relaxation. I don't think I have to like tell you what it's about, but basically young, pretty Columbia graduate who seems to have it all decides that she just needs to go into hibernation for a year and just kind of takes drugs and sleeps all year. For some reason, I started this book last year and I just couldn't get into it. I think I myself was not in a proper headspace to read this book, and some of what the main character was saying and describing was becoming a little too relatable, so I had to put this down. But I'm doing much better now, and so I feel more confident that I can get through this one. These last two are so different. This is hilarious. But the first is a Toni Morrison book just a selection of her essays and speeches and meditations. I always say that I want to read more Toni Morrison and more Octavia Butler because I've read like one book from each of them, and they're so amazing. They are without fail some of the most like heartbreaking, beautiful books I've ever read. Octavia Butler's Parable duology are my two favorite books of all time, but these are more authors where it's just like their books are so sad and you just really have to be in a good frame of mind in order to read them, and I feel like I often am not. Okay, and then the last thing on my list, like I said, quite a far cry from Toni Morrison, but it's this manga that I picked up at Barnes & Noble. So I very rarely read manga and I very rarely read any kind of romance, but this manga is called Seaside Stranger. I thought the premise was really interesting because I'll just read you the back. Ever since his parents have disowned him for being gay, Shun has been living with his aunt on a small island near Okinawa. One day he meets Mio, a high school student who recently lost his own parents and now spends his days sitting by the sea. The two young men begin to open up to each other until Mio reveals that he's leaving. 3 years after, an adult Mio returns to the island to confess his true feelings, but is Shun ready for a relationship? So I just thought that was very interesting because I am generally not a fan of the whole girls love, boys love anime / manga genre, I guess, because I've seen a couple of them and I feel like often they come off as so fetishy, and I don't know, maybe it's unfair to judge the entire genre by what I've seen, but this one I've heard good things about. I've heard it's more of a wholesome romance. I think it's very interesting that the main character is openly gay. I feel like we don't see a lot of that in East Asian literature, or at least not in the Japanese manga that I'm familiar with. I just also love anything set by the ocean, so I was a little biased in picking this up. Although people have said it's wholesome, but this was like plastic wrapped at Barnes & Noble, so I'm probably not going to be reading this in public just in case. All right, sorry for such a like rambling, totally off script video, but I thought this was a really fun idea. And hopefully in making this video, I can hold myself accountable to getting through some of these books in this coming year. Feel free to tell me what books are on your physical or non-physical TBR for 2023, and I wish you all a very productive year of reading. Bye!